What is going on, YouTube people? Today, we're diving back into the repack topic. I spoke about it in a video the other day and kind of laid out the groundwork for, we've been talking for a year now. I feel like I've been talking about this since the National last year about, repackers buying up inventory, buying up more inventory, coming in and dropping tons of money at shows. And that's been growing and growing and growing and snowballing. And what it led to was where's the inventory going? Where are all these slabs going? And that was kind of what the video the other day was. I did the little, spent a couple days trolling around whatnot, did the little video breakdown or the spreadsheet breakdown that you see on the screen here. Today, what I want to talk about is, I've discussed in the past this whole kit. Even if you don't care about repacks, never buy into a repack. You just buy singles of your favorite player. Maybe buy a box here and there. Maybe buy a guy to flip. Come the next season or whatever. You dabble here and there into different categories, but you don't care about repacks. That's not for you, and I get it. Talked about this a ton. This whole thing, this whole kit and caboodle around cards. Now, if you're just, I want to collect my Cleveland Indians of the 1980s. Give me some Joe Carters and some Corey Schneiders, Tom Candiottis. You don't care about any of this stuff that I'm about to talk about. If you're a casual flipper, you have a little PC on the side, you collect some stuff, maybe you air quote invest in some stuff, you do raw to grade, you're one of those middle ground people, you probably care a little bit about this. The whole thing is an ecosystem. It's quote Happy Gilmore, circular. It's circles. It all goes around. Card starts here and then it moves its way around the entire ecosystem. Fanatics gets their cut. PSA gets their cut. It goes on eBay, they get their cut. We do our thing. We buy it raw. We grade it. We get it out of a break. We flip it. A repacker buys it. All that stuff matters. All that money flows around. And when it's balanced, everything moves around pretty evenly. I would say the last year or so, things were kind of starting to balance out. We got out of the COVID pandemic boom cycle. Things had corrected. They had crashed down. And for a while there, things were going pretty good. Now, this repacker nonsense has gone to such an extreme, I am beginning to worry that the ecosystem is starting to get out of whack. We're in a air quote junk slab era, and we are legitimately having inventory shortages around certain, I'm gonna say SKUs of cards, but that's not really what I mean. Types of cards, if that makes sense. Specifically football, case hits, downtown, kabooms, NBA, prisms, RPAs, rookie autos, nice vet stuff like a vet patch auto, a really nice flawless Magic Johnson auto, like that sort of stuff. I worry that stuff might be getting pushed up, or maybe not even pushed up. Maybe prices are staying flat, but maybe that stuff should be coming way down, and it's not, because it's being artificially inflated up because of the buying spree that the repackers are on. The Minnesota Card Show was about a week or so ago, and it is getting so out of control on the chase for inventory. You see these signs all the time, buying 80 to 90%. Now, we're at 100%. They're paying 100% on certain things. Now, not everything. You're not going to be able to walk up there with your PSA 4 Bobby Witt Mojo and get 100% comps for it. But if you have a downtown or a kaboom or a color blast of a popular player, you'll easily be able to get close to 100% for that card. Easily be able to get 100% for that card. Easily. That, at some point, has to be getting a little out of control. We're starting to skew the other way a little too heavy, and it's having massive repercussions all around that you may or may not be noticing. We've talked recently about shows. Dealers, like them or not, are getting squeezed. Shows are getting wiped out of desirable inventory before the show even opens its doors. You know, dealers in the past would pay their 70%, 75%, 60%, and then they would sell at 90. And they had a nice little, 10 to 20% in between there to wiggle room off of one way or the other. The problem now is, and this is really the root cause of all of it, the problem now is that the repackers are buying at 90 to 100% for liquid strong inventory. The dealers can't buy at that price anymore. I can't buy at that price anymore. And I'm not even, I am like a casual flipper. I mostly do rata grade from stuff that I get from wax. And, occasionally we'll chase some prospect or something here and there. But it is nearly impossible to buy at less than 90% right now. Which in theory sounds like a great thing. But here's where the ultimate problem goes. The dealer is now forced to buy at 90 to 100%, which means they have to sell at 90 to 100%. They can't go lower than that. So you as a show attendee, if you're looking in the past, it would be nice to get that happy middle ground. If the card sells for $100 on eBay, I have to pay tax and shipping. You have to pay a 13% eBay seller fee. Let's split that difference somewhere. It's a $100 card. Let's call it 90 and everybody's happy. I get a little bit of a break. You get a little bit of a break. You don't have to deal with eBay fees and shipping. I get to save a little bit of money. Maybe I don't have to pay sales tax on it. Maybe even $95. If it's a card that you really, really want, you'll pay 95 out of 100 for it. Because people don't mind paying strong if they actually want to own the card. And that really gets to the meat of the bone. People have to actually want to own the card to pay strong for it. The problem we have now is people don't want to actually own a lot of the cards that they're buying. They want the 5 to 10% they're going to make on it in 5 minutes to 5 weeks when they take that card from that person and go sell it to the next person. They don't care about the actual piece of cardboard inside the piece of plastic with a numeric grade in the top corner. They don't care about that. All they care is CJ Stroud silver, cool. I could buy that for $800 and sell it for $850. I made $50. Let's do that over and over and over again. But what that does is it sticks you in this cycle where no one actually wants to pay full value because they're too concerned about making a percentage on it later on in life. Whereas if you walk the show floor and you see insert your PC player here, or a guy you really collect, or a non-sports card that you've been hankering for, and it sells for $100 on eBay, and the dealer has it in his case for $100, and this is going to shock you, you want to own the card for your collection, you don't mind paying full price or damn near close to it, because once again, this may shock you, you just actually want to own the card. And you don't care about the 10% that you're going to make when you go to flip it. You're going to hold on to it. It's going to go to your desk. Now, I'm not saying you're never going to sell that card. You very well might. Maybe it's a year. Maybe it's 2 years. Maybe it's 3 years. Who knows? Life happens. We've all bought things, think it's the key piece to the collection, and then realize it's not and move off of it. But that wasn't your intent when you bought it. And that's the difference. The problem now is people only want to pay 80 to 90% walking around because I need room, bro. It falls into that category. So now everyone's feeling the squeeze. And the repackers are running around. They could pay 100% because they are making a mint on the back end. We ran through the numbers yesterday. I'll pull the spreadsheet back up real quick. This was all assuming that everything was dead on 100%. Here's a few things. So people in the comment section of that video brought up some good points. And then I did a little bit of further digging. One, what I was told was the whatnot power sellers, the ones that are really selling a lot of product, basically pay no fees. They pay the 3% transaction fee and a little bit on a per item basis. It's like 50 cents per item. And then a 2.9% selling fee, I believe that it is. So yesterday when we were running these numbers, we were assuming a 10% seller fee off of this $325,000. Imagine that goes away, and now it's a 3% selling fee. We're also assuming they paid 100% comps, which guess what? They probably didn't. We're also assuming this number is accurate, and this number is accurate, the floor, the ceiling, and the average. We don't know how they're comping these. We're assuming they are dead on the up and up. We are not assuming maybe they are taking the average of the lowest 3 sales the last month on the low end, and on for when they're dollar, or when they're averaging it out when they're buying. When they're building the repack, they're probably taking the 3 highest average sales over the course of the last couple weeks if it's something that sells often. Who knows? We don't know. That's ultimately the problem. So they are making an absolute mint. Once again, this was $47,000 before fees. Now, if all of a sudden their fees are very minimal and we don't assume the 100% on this stuff anymore, look how big this number gets and how quick. That's the reason why you see this, because they could buy at close to 100% for their chasers, because they're going to make the margin back up on the lower end stuff, and then they can play fun with numbers on the in-between stuff. And all of a sudden they're building in all this extra margin. That's why you also see stuff like this. This was something that popped up in the old school Facebook group last week that I had shared on social, running down someone looking for full-time buyers. They wanted 5 to 6 people to spend 40 to 60K a week. And they were willing to pay 150K a year if you could do that. Start adding those numbers up and doing the math on that and how much money that is circulating around all this. And this is 100% legit. The goal is to be buying a constant $1 to $1.3 million a week. That's what this guy wants. He wants over $1 million in inventory a week. This is one person building or sending the inventory off to someone that is building a repack product. $1 million a week. That's why the shows are getting picked over. You spend that kind of, there's not $1 million worth of inventory that the repackers want. There's, plenty of inventory, but that the repackers want on the show floors across the country in a week. There's no way. So it's causing this feeding frenzy across the board. Now, is it artificially inflating prices? That's kind of the crux of today's video, the second crux of today's video, I guess. What happens when the music stops? To quote a little line and scene from Margin Call, what happens if it just slows down a little bit? What happens if the repackers go, what if they got together and we're like, we're not spending 100% anymore, we're buying at 80? The whole market would downshift. What happens if TikTok gets banned? Because there's a lot of stuff that moves on that platform. What happens if, and this is the scary one, you spend a day on Whatnot going in and out of rooms, and you can't tell me at some, and I don't know how it would work, and it might take years, it might take decades, how you can watch one of those rooms and sit there and go, how is there absolutely zero oversight or regulation on this? It is 1,000% gambling. I don't care what anyone says. There's no argument you can make that can convince me that Whatnot repacks, and they're adults, I assume they're adults, spend your money however you want. But you cannot tell me that is not an unregulated casino that they're running on there, because it 1,000% is. No one's buying into that repack, chasing their favorite Corey Schneider rookie card to add to their PC. They're pulling the wheel at $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a spin to see if they hit or not. If a sniff of regulation is coming and cracks down on this one person that is buying for a repack is injecting, think about this. This is where I get back to the whole ecosystem thing. Are injecting $1 million a week into buying cards for repacks. What if all of a sudden any number of things could happen? Regulation happens. There's some oversight involved all of a sudden. The demand drops. What if people suddenly wise up and go, the hell am I doing? What in the hell am I actually doing here? And say, no more, and delete their credit card off the platform. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No. I think that's the least likely of things, to be quite honest with you. Because we are a nation and a people built on degeneracy. Gambling is taking over everything. And I'm not anti-gambling at all. I bet on sports on occasion on the side. I obviously buy wax. I'll take my little bit of, entertainment value out of that. I'll throw 5 or 10, 20 bucks on a Cavs game or do some single game parlays or whatever here and there. I'll play daily fantasy sports. It's all gambling. We all have a little gamble in us. And this is that to an extreme. So I'm a little less concerned about that and more concerned that somewhere or someone somewhere is going to get burned on something, or someone's kid is going to get burned on something, or someone's kid's going to run up a bunch of credit card debt, or something is going to trigger someone to look at this and go, wait, what's happening over there? Are you kidding me? And the government's going to want their taste, whether it's a license or oversight or regulation or what, because you know what? What did I say before? Everyone wants their percentage. The big man wants their percentage more than anybody else. And if they can figure out a way to clamp down on it or put something on it, they're going to want their taste as well. But if that causes problems, now all of a sudden, what happens to the ecosystem when this $1 million a week, once again, one primary buyer? What if there's 2, 3, 4 of these guys out there buying up inventory? And it's not just this one person, but just this one person is injecting $1 million of liquidity back into the market. And that is great. On paper, that sounds fantastic. And when things were in balance about a year ago, when I talked about repackers, when things weren't this extreme, they were good for a show. They would come in, they would inject a little bit of liquidity. It was great. Dealers would sell some stuff. They get cash back in their pocket. They would buy from the guy carrying around their Zion case or girl. They get some inventory back from that. Cash and cards would flow around the room, and it was this happy little place that we were all in. But now things are tilting. Things are going to an extreme the other direction. And from a manufacturer standpoint, I discussed in the other video, and this is the ultimate question, does Fanatics care? Panini, I don't really worry about them. They're gone in a year or two. I'm not concerned about them. What does Fanatics actually think about this stuff? Because this stuff is selling better than their Bowman boxes or their Topps Chrome boxes. How do they feel about that? Is Fanatics okay with it because they're going to make their couple percent on Fanatics Live? Or do they not like this? Or, better yet, do they figure out a way to compete with this? You already have Topps Archives. That's kind of like a repack product. Do we ever think we would see a manufacturer legitimately put out a repack product? That would be a whole other bag of cats, because what if Fanatics is like, hey, we could do this better, and then Fanatics sends people out to buy up inventory. Now you're going to drive everything else up to all feed the gambling addiction. That is my ultimate concern here. A lot of this cash that's fueling back in to the ecosystem is being generated from the gambling addiction. It always kind of has been, but now, like I said, I feel like that faucet has opened up wide and it is just pouring out. And then now what happens if someone comes and starts to close that faucet a little bit? Even if it doesn't close all the way, they just slow down the flow a little bit. Is that the cause for the next house of cards to collapse? What happens to these dealers that are getting wiped out on inventory at 100% comps? The other people that I have to imagine that are starting to feel the squeeze here are consigners. That's probably a whole other video we could talk about. between what PSA and eBay are doing and now this. Why do I need to go through a consigner when I could just sell for 100% for someone else, or even 90%? If they're buying up inventory that quickly, why do I need eBay? Why do I need MySlabs? Why do I need DC Sports 87? Why do I need them if I could just get 90%, 95%, hell, 100% on some stuff cash, just by waiting in line at a show and having them go through my case? It's wild stuff out there. And that is my big concern. Are we in a weird little, a second artificial bubble, even though, like I said, the weird part here is it's not like prices are going to the moon on stuff. But is this million a week that's getting injected into everything, is this sustaining? Is this the reason why things have flattened out? Or do we go the opposite direction? Does this just keep on skewing up and keep going crazier and crazier? Does it get to the point where there is an oversaturation of repacks? Because someone else has to be looking at this going, hey man, they're making money hand over fist. I'm joining the club. Now, the cream will rise to the top. The people will reward the ones that are actually doing it correctly and putting together a good product and putting it out there and not feeling as burned. So those ones will always gravitate to the top of the list. Those ones will always get boosted by the algorithm on Whatnot and Fanatics Live. Those are the ones that will get most of the cash injected back into it. But $1 million a week from one buyer across the country, that's just one person. It's a lot of cash. I know the sports card market is large. I know a lot of money gets spent every single day. But then think about it on the flip end, or on the flip side. If they're buying $1 million in inventory, that means they're selling $1 million of inventory at an increased markup. So let's say they spent $1 million and they're selling it for 1.5 on the back end. Just think about those numbers. Think about how much money is getting spent on the back end. To me, it only feels like it's a matter of time until someone looks at that. And when I say someone, I'm talking government. Looks at that and goes, wait, what? I just don't think they figured it out. But at some point in time, I have to believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong on this one. Maybe I am. But you got to pay attention to this stuff. It affects everything else. That money stops flowing, everything slows down. Economy takes a hit, and people don't buy in the repacks as much. They don't chase the gamble as much. I don't know. That's my concern. Is this whole thing, the whole current thing, is getting a big prop up from the repack frenzy that we were in. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. Curious for your thoughts and comments, as always, down below. Catch you on the next one. Peace.